Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, hello and welcome back to the Daily Budget Podcast. This is the first episode of our second season, season 2, and we have the extreme privilege of having the one and only Alfonso Cuadra here as not only our first guest of the season, but our first guest ever on the podcast.
Yes, so thank you, Alfonso, for joining us. Now, Alfonso is a serial entrepreneur. If you guys don't know, he started many businesses from real estate. He also does mentorship. He's a philanthropist, and he's gone about, you traveled around the world a couple times?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Now, before we get started, guys, stay with us because at the end of the show, we're going to have links. We're going to have ways that you could tap in with Alfonso.
All right, so we'll get right into it. And Alfonso, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief overview of kind of yourself and your background. You know, you're obviously, like Marco mentioned, a serial entrepreneur. You've had many different business ventures, but your primary, activity is real estate investing, if that's correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, give us a brief overview of kind of yourself and how you got started, in the context of real estate investing.
Yeah. So, thank you guys. You guys are doing some fantastic work here. Season 2, that's incredible. Quick question: how many episodes in season 1?
8.
8. Nice. So you're going with the Netflix format, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully we won't be canceled after 2 seasons.
Well, you guys are in control of that.
Yeah. That's the beauty of podcasts.
So, nice. No, I really appreciate what you guys were doing. And before we went, we started recording. We're just having a quick conversation, and I'm talking about the fact that I've started so many companies. And at one point, I thought I had this idea in my mind that I wanted to create a tattoo, a sleeve of all the logos, that all the companies that I've started. Right, create a whole sleeve of all the logos. And then somewhere inside of it would be a message, and it would say, "I'm a product of my imagination."
Yes.
And I discovered I didn't have enough skin, right? Because it was just so many. But you know what? If I can leave you with a message today, and what I want to talk about today, and your listen, and hopefully it comes across the right way to your listeners, is this power of expansion, right? Yeah. And we have to be always consistently expanding. And, with that expansion is going to come failures, ups and downs. It's going to come things that didn't work out. But because you were in an expansion mode, you will get those home runs, right? So for me, that's the way I live my life. I live my life in expansion. And most people choose to contract. If you notice what happened to a lot of people during COVID, you had 3 different types of people, right? You had the people that kind of contracted, became smaller, scarcity, the world is falling apart. There was the spectator, the person that just sat back and just gonna Netflix and chill. We're gonna see what happens. Don't worry. And almost like in denial, because they're just waiting for it to be back to normal at some point. And then there's the people that expanded during this time. And, I expanded my business in a really huge way in this COVID-19 time, this 2020 time, right? And so there's going to be many different types of people. And for me, it's important that you're always in expansion mode, because you cannot expand and contract at the same time. It's impossible. You're either growing or you're dying, right? And so to kind of give you a little background on where I came from and how I got here. I was born in Latin America, El Salvador. Actually, I was in 2 civil wars. Immigrated to Canada as a refugee, and because I was, I spent a lot of time running away from regimes and wars and in hiding from our government, and it was a bad situation. in the 80s in Latin America, Central America. I missed a lot of educational opportunities. And so the integration into school, into Canada, was a very difficult integration for me. And eventually, I ended up getting frustrated and dropping out of high school. And I was in a very dark place in my life, and I ended up leaving home and being homeless at 15 years old, and just hitting rock bottom, panhandling for change, just really, really dark moments. Now I say that because I want everybody to understand that we've all had these dark moments. Like, my darkest moment is not the same as yours, but we've all been there. You know, like, you guys can think about a moment in your life where it was just like you were just so frustrated and you didn't know why this was happening to you. And it's easy to fall into a situation where you start to blame and you start to no longer have control over your life. Especially during these times, COVID-19, people have lost their jobs, their health, and it's so easy to get into that rut. And it's so easy to say, you know what, like, it's them, or, you know, the elections, just wait till the elections, or just wait to this, just wait to that. You have to take control over your life, and no matter what happens to you, it's all about what you do about what happens. And so I had a life-changing moment at 17 when I became a father, right? And my little girl was born, and it just gave me a very different perspective on life. And I decided that at that point, I wanted to change my life, and I wanted to make this little girl proud of me. And I discovered purpose. And so if anybody's gonna if you're taking notes out there, I would say, write this down. A purpose powerful enough will make you unstoppable. If you can find a purpose, whatever it is that you're doing, it's great to have goals, but if you can find a reason why you want those goals, you're going to be unstoppable, right? And so for me, it was this little girl at 17. I became a father, and I discovered purpose, and I said to myself, I have to change. And I started to take responsibility over my own life, started to take control over my own life. And at 17, I started a business out of my locker in high school. And it was the clothing industry. I would go to Toronto, Montreal, New York, buy jeans, t-shirts, and mixtapes. You guys don't even know what mixtapes are, right? You guys, you don't know about the cassettes.
Yeah, the cassettes. Come on.
But I'd go and buy. So there was, before the internet, people used to get their music at HMV, right? And you would have these underground mix cassettes, right? And they were just not available in Ottawa. And so I would go to Toronto on Yonge Street, and then these people were selling these mixed cassettes, Tony Touch, Green Lantern, all the old school, mixtapes. And then I would buy one of each, and then I would come back, and then I would dub them all. You could go to the dollar store, buy a stack of 20 cassettes, and then you'd have to put the tape at the end, and then you could dub them all. And then I would run 20, and then I would sell them in high school, right out of my locker. And so I had this vision, and what I discovered was the power. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down: the power of profits, right? Yeah. And there's a big difference between wages and profits. When I was young, I did get that first job, and the minimum wage at that time was $5 an hour. And so I was a dishwasher for $5 an hour. And so an hour of my time was worth $5. Mm-hmm. And then I would go to high school, and so the reason I got this job, and I'm going to school because I'm trying to, feed a small family. But I would go to high school, and I could sell a pair of jeans for $60 that I bought for $20, making a $40 profit. In a 10-minute transaction, right? So I started to make to differentiate the differences between profit and wages. And so at that point, at 17, I learned a big lesson about profits. And then I knew that I was going to pursue profits for the rest of my life. And so when I graduated high school, I graduated at 19 with a vision, a dream, an idea of opening my very own store, my own clothing store. And, you know, my own hip hop clothing store. And of course, I had no money, no background. And you had all, you know, when I would start to share this idea with people, people would say, well, you know, that's like, you need money to do that. Or, you know what, there's no, hip hop it's just a little fad. It's not gonna blow up at all. Ottawa, there's no need for that in Ottawa.
Are they ever wrong?
Huh? in those days, there was literally nothing in Ottawa, right? And
it's too much then.
Yeah, you know, and you know, there's a lot of naysayers. So I changed my approach. And for people that are listening, there's two ways of introducing an idea into existence, right? Most people say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? When you ask people what they think, you open yourself to their opinion. It shouldn't matter what they think. You should be very, very direct with what you're going to do, right? And so when I would tell people, you know, about this great idea, people would have all these reasons why I shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So I changed my approach and I said, listen, I'm opening this store September 1st. Didn't know how I was going to do it, but I put a date. I said, September 1st, I'm opening this store. And did you want to invest? Did you want to be a part of it? Mm. And so because I had no money, I raised about $2,700 within my community, my friends, right? And 96% of the people said, you're crazy, Alfonso, it's not going to work. But 4% said, yeah, I got $20, I got 200. Some people invested $100 into this company, right? And so I raised $2,700. Now, I'm going to turn a long story very short. Because I turned those $2,700 into a company grossing in the millions with locations all across Canada. I became a serial entrepreneur. I fell in love with being an entrepreneur. And I discovered that, you know what, that's where I was supposed to be. And so for me, and the message that I kind of want to put out there for everybody that's listening, is this idea of expansion, right? And that we are in control as long as you take control, right? Because what I discovered was that for things to change in my life, first, I had to change. Now, this change was fueled with a powerful purpose that made me unstoppable. But until I took control over my life and started to be an expansion, nothing was going to happen. And so from there, I went on to building multiple different businesses. And I started in real estate about 20 years ago. And I started I started for a very specific reason. Yeah. Because when I was 21 years old, my business was booming, you know, like making all this money. I thought this money was never going to stop. It was like, wow, like I made it, right? What happened was 9/11. 9/11 was the very first time that in my history, my career, that I've ever experienced a correction in the market. And so you guys are too young to remember 9/11. It was 2002, about 2002, 2000, or maybe even 2001. I can't really remember. 2001, yeah. So how old were you guys in 2001?
I was 6 years old.
I was 7.
Yeah. So really didn't feel the full impact. But what happened was, I'm gonna explain to you what happened. The entire world shut down. Everything was frozen. Borders closed. So we were getting all our merchandise from the US, and borders were closed. Nobody was allowed to cross the borders. All flights were grounded, and people went into isolation, and they were addicted to CNN. Everybody was like just stuck. People were not shopping. They were not contributing to the economy. Everybody was just stuck to CNN to see what was happening. Is it terrorists? Is it this? Is it that? I mean, it was such an impactful time in a lot of people's lives, and it lasted for about, probably about 6 months, even going into when they went to into Iraq, right? And so what happened was people stopped spending. Now, for the most part, businesses were okay, but I wasn't prepared, right?
Mhm.
And so what happened for us was there was a correction. We weren't prepared, and the business started to suffer, and people felt it. There's people that some store managers quit. Good people, you look for other jobs. When the ship is sinking, nobody wants to be on that ship, and so everybody's grabbing and stealing, and 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 I have to take responsibility. It was a big part of mismanagement, because at that time I was living in the U.S. My business was in Canada. At one point I thought I was indestructible, but I discovered how vulnerable I was because I only had one stream of income. And so for me, luckily, what I discovered was, I met my mentor, and I discovered books. If you're taking notes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and just kind of changed my mindset, because up to that point, I was very much a consumer. Even though I figured out how to make money, and that's easy, right? I was not investing my money, right? And so what happens was, when that business suffered, everything suffered. And by 21, I was on top of the world. By 24, I was about $1 million in debt, and this close to completely going bankrupt. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna study wealthy people. And what do? All wealthy people have real estate, right? And so at that point, 20 years ago, I decided that I was going to create a secondary stream of income in my life that was indestructible, Armageddon proof. And so,
No.
yeah, and so I went into multi-units, and I started investing into multi-units. By the time 2008 came, the next market correction, the next market cycle, the next downturn in the cycle, I was ready. My life was completely different. I had investments that could carry me through. And now I was able to take advantage of all the opportunities in 2008. And since 2008, I've grown the real estate portfolio to apartment buildings all across Canada, in many different provinces. And I just, this is like my mainstream now, right? And since then, I've started multiple different companies and crashed and burned, and things that really didn't make sense, but I had a passion for. And at the end of the day, I was able to sustain myself, sustain my lifestyle because of the real estate. You see, real estate provided the freedom. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell, guys.
No, that's amazing.
You mentioned a couple great things during your talk, and you mentioned that your family was the number reason, your why. It was your why. It was your purpose. What helped you lean towards something that was much greater for you. So to our viewers out there, just remember, before you start your ventures, it's gonna take for you to recognize yourself and recognize why you want to do it and find that purpose. You mentioned something very important in business. And business is, you're not working for a wage, you're not working for an hourly wage. What you're working for is for the bottom line. And the bottom line, when you know how to understand, if you understand the way it works, you will take everything from it. You will take profit. That profit itself will feed yourself, will feed your family, and can lead to long-term, how you say, like just long-term net worth. And another thing as well that you mentioned is you learn very quickly how to get OPM, other people's money, how to get people to help you fund your business. That's very important, because most business people will say, oh, you need money. It's like, no, money is already around you. Money is already there for you. What you need to do is know how to tap into your network. And another thing that you mentioned is you went into business in order to have longevity in your future. But one thing that you weren't ready for is you didn't have a downturn. You didn't have a business that was downturn proof. When the market correction occurred in 2001, it really hit you hard because although you mentioned that it was all stars, it was all beautiful, but no foundation in order to levy some of these downturns that happen. And that's where you started off with real estate. And now, would you say that real estate is the business, no matter what circumstances, it's going to last? Because, well, we've seen it. Real estate has been there since the start of this world.
Everyone's always going to need a place to live.
Everyone.
It's one of the last. It's one of the last lords around, right? So, you know, all the other lords went out of business except for the landlord, right? and so but it's still standing. It's still around.
Absolutely. But I mean,
this is what I'll say. Because there's a difference between having that consumer mindset versus the investor mindset.
Yeah.
The difference, what separates the wealthy between everybody else is mindset, right? And so 96% of the people are operating under a consumer mindset. And only 4% of the population has this investor mindset. If you look at it, and if you look at how wealth is distributed throughout the world, 4% of the population own 96% of the wealth.
Yep.
Right? And so the difference is, what separates those is the mindset. And so the combination of business and real estate is what gives the 4% an unfair advantage over the 96%. Now, there was some reporting on Donald Trump and how he paid $750 in taxes. The 96% were up in arms. That's how outrageous. How can he, you pay only $750 in taxes? What the 4% understand is like, yeah, it's normal, because the wealthy do not pursue personal income. That's the last thing we're looking for.
Exactly. Right? And creative accounting, carry forward losses. There's so many tips and tricks. Exactly.
Yeah, and so if he paid $750 in taxes, that tells you something about the industry that he's in. So instead of, and this is the question that I had when I was 21 years old. When I was 24, 23, I was like, okay, I want to make this move into wealthy. Anybody can make money. Anybody can make money. Money is probably the easiest thing to create, but
that's
keeping
a very
the money,
important point, because
both
you and Marco touched on something that I kind of want to hammer home for everybody, and that's the scarcity mindset. And so that 96% of people, the vast majority out there, they think of money as some limited resource that must be scrounged and saved at all costs.
Yeah.
But as we're talking about and as we're showing, there is so much, there's an unfathomable amount of money out there in the world. It's just up to you to figure out how to get it, how to get your piece, and then how to get another piece and another piece, because that's what wealth building is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the real estate is an amazing tool where you can store wealth. Mm-hmm. And so this is where the wealthy store their wealth, right? So the second you buy a tangible asset, you're no longer vulnerable to the market, right? Yeah. Essentially, and I don't want to get too much into it, but like money is simply it's simply imaginary. It's not backed by anything.
It's
right?
not. It's true. It's not. That's
the value is the perceived value that we give to it, based on confidence, consumer confidence in that particular currency. But that's about it. And so, where are you going to be sitting there with bags of money and cash? No, you want to leverage that into tangible assets. Now, what I like about real estate is the idea of leverage, right? So it's 1 to 5, right? And so for every dollar, or let's say every quarter, you can tap into $2 in an asset. You know what I mean? And so this idea of leverage. So let's say right now you have $100,000. You can buy a $500,000. That gives you the ability to buy a $500,000 asset.
Yeah. Now you're worth $500,000
and buy gold, for example, right? Or buy stocks or whatever. But you're buying $100,000 of stocks. You're not buying $500,000 of value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about real estate is the leverage. And so here's the point that people don't understand. Once I buy this asset of $500,000, my tenants are going to pay it down, right?
Yeah.
Once they paid it down, okay, if I borrow $500,000 against that property, this is not a taxable event.
It's not.
Because this is a debt restructure. So once my tenants pay it down, I can go back and tap into the equity that's been built in there tax-free. And so this goes back to what we talked about with Donald, right? If he paid $750 in taxes, is because he didn't make any income. And why would he? Right?
Yeah.
He'd simply, if you have all these assets and they've been paid down, of course, like you said, he can carry losses. And if the assets are being paid down, all he has to do is tap into that equity and borrow it back out tax-free.
Yeah, it's another important point because so many people think a millionaire just has $1 million of sitting in their bank accounts available. No. The vast majority of millionaires are just regular people like you or I who worked, saved, and invested, and that's their worth, combining real estate, their house, maybe rental property, RSP, stocks, bonds, what have you. And that's, I think, a key distinction that a lot of people don't make is that they think, oh, the Donald Trumps, he paid $750, but he made $3 billion. Yes, but he didn't get handed a check for $3 billion. That's $3 billion. Yeah. That's come from
net worth
of asset.
Yeah,
net worth, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, and like, by the way, he's not the only one. Like, people focus on that. How about Amazon paid zero in
seven different countries?
Yeah. So watch this. Amazon, they're going to be hitting $1 trillion in sales, right? Everybody's focused on the little 750. How about zero?
Yeah. Absolutely. And Amazon dwarfs Donald.
Yeah.
And so, in real estate, of course, the hardest part is getting started. Now, the hardest part of doing any business venture is getting started. With real estate, though, I think it's particularly the case because you have to come up with that initial payment. Once you get the ball rolling, you can tap into that leverage, like you said, and from there it grows exponentially. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on how the real estate market, from the time when you started, has changed and shifted, and how it may be easier or more difficult for someone who today is looking to get into it.
Yeah, so it has changed. In many ways, it's become easier, right? Because people are just more aware. When I started, people weren't aware. So I started, like I told you, going back to why I started is because I almost went bankrupt. I did not go bankrupt, but I almost went bankrupt. And so I started with in the negative, right? I started with all this debt, with no money, my credit was destroyed, no income, zero income. Because when I came back and rebuilt my business, I had to start from scratch, right? And I didn't have an income, so no income, no money, no credit. And so, I took the time to educate myself, and I tapped into the experience of other people that were doing it. And I paid a mentor to give me the knowledge. And this is what I discovered. There's two types of currencies. There's the first type that we all understand. This is money. Argent, dinero. And the second currency is the intellectual currency, is what we know. And the more intellectual currency you have, the less actual currency you'll need. And so I just had to do that first deal and figure out how to do it. And so my first strategy was simply to buy a multi-unit, and buy it and refi it and pull the money back out and go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And so within my first year, I had already accumulated 10 different properties, not using any of my own money. And so the concept of you need money is, and it definitely helps. But if you don't have the knowledge, even if you have the money, you're guaranteed to lose the money because you're not going to be investing in the right investments.
Exactly.
The most common misconception is to do things based on where you are. You know, most people want to start investing based on their current circumstances. So they look at their credit, they look at how much money in the account they have in the account. They look at, you know, the resources, and they'll say, well, the only thing I can afford is, for example, a little condo, not knowing that that is probably the worst thing that they could do, right? And so, you know, if you just get a little, if your viewers watching right now, get as much knowledge in real estate as possible, so you understand how to identify a deal. The hardest thing to find in real estate is an actual deal that makes sense. Anybody can put a property for sale, and anybody can make an offer and bring a down payment and purchase that property. But does that property make money? Does it have does it cash flow? Now, real estate is pretty forgiving. Real estate is probably the only industry that time will erase your mistakes, right? But if you have no money to begin with, you cannot afford a mistake.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you understand, you know, how to invest and how to identify a deal, how to do the numbers, and, you know, so you know exactly what a return on investment looks like. And once you have that know-how, you can put a deal under contract and have other people help you fund your deal. And this is how you can enter, because those people don't know how to get into, don't know how to identify a deal, right? Everybody's looking at, you know, they're going online and they're looking at these properties. They're over, they don't know what's going on. And not knowing that an investor like me, I will never look at that stuff, right? I'm never, you know, I buy properties all across Canada. I'm never in a bidding war, right? This is not how you get it started in real estate. So the problem is, when I started, the industry wasn't as, like, people didn't know as much, so I could do, and there was no internet really. I mean, there was no Facebook or whatnot. So it was kind of like peer-to-peer, you know, coffee shops and things like that. Now, because it's kind of out there, it leaves people vulnerable to misinformation, right? Yeah. And this is what I was talking to you guys about my channel. You know, even though there's no, I don't have no ring lights and things like that. But what I do have on my channel is real content, real tangible things, because I'm actually doing this. And
you're
so
we're going into buildings. You're actually seeing. You're actually in those cities.
Yeah. And so what happens is, like, a lot of these people, they go online and they misinform people because all they're doing is recycling information. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Of course, everybody's got to try to do something. This is, I mean, people are trying to survive. And so just be careful, and be careful from who you're getting the education from, and make sure you reach out to someone that really truly knows what they're doing.
Yes. Now, I wanted to ask you, you've been in this real estate game for many years now. What's your goal in this now? Like, you found your purpose. What's your goal now? What's the outreach? Is there a total sum that you want to reach, or is there a level of acknowledgement that you want from this? Like, what is?
So the real estate, like, I mean, I've built the portfolio to, you know, like, I've already destroyed any possible goal that I ever had for myself. But now, you know, I've set, you know, I set pretty strong goals, you know, and I like what you said, that, you know, you talked about a goal, right? And I'm always reviewing my goals. And how do you know that you have a good goal, right? See, the problem is not the fact that people don't set goals or set goals. The problem is that most people's goals are too small, and they set goals based on where they are, not where they want to go, right? And so for me, we have a 5-year goal to get to 7,500 doors, and a 10-year goal to get to 75,000. Now, what makes a good goal? A good goal should excite you and scare you at the same time.
Mhm.
And so that's a goal that's worthy of me, but not to get, not for any more wealth or any more money, but just to see the person I'm going to become on the way to achieving those goals. And
that's
the
actually
resources I'm going to have in order to now do the work that I do with the youth and things like this. I create freedom for myself, so now I can be in a position where I can teach others.
Yeah.
So what I want to be remembered for is not how many doors I had or how many apartment buildings I had or cars or any of that stuff. I want to be remembered for the people that I've helped, right? And so this is why we started the Cuadra Youth Foundation. Mm-hmm. And we want to teach financial literacy, entrepreneurship, leadership, public speaking, sales skills to young people globally, right? Yeah. So my goals are more along that side of things now, where it's like I want to see how many people, how many lives can I change? Can I help? Can I inspire based on the things that I'm doing in business and in my life?
I like what you said there, and it's actually a quote that I use all the time for all my friends that ask me about my vision and what do I want in life. I tell them when you have a goal or when you have a something material, whatever it is that you want to reach, at first it's about that, but as you learn to grow into that, as you learn to reach those goals and move towards that direction, you learn that what your target is no longer that goal, or it's no longer the material things that are attached to it. It's the self-love, it's the characters that you're building, the patience. That's what you're actually chasing, the determination, love, accepting yourself. These are the things that actually come with the goals. It's no longer, oh, I want the cars, like you said, or like I want 75,000 doors. It's no longer those. It's really, how can I better somebody's life? How can I be more patient? How can I be more determined? How can I accept myself and scare myself at the same time?
Yeah. One thing I want to say is you don't need to be already wealthy to have that mindset.
Yeah.
And I think this is an important point to make, because many people, especially I would say the younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, are somewhat, I guess, disillusioned, maybe the best way to put it, and think, oh yeah, well, Alfonso, maybe easy for you to say because you have 7,500 doors, you don't have to worry about money. Meanwhile, I'm here with a college degree trying to pay off my loans, working at Starbucks or wherever. And so it circles back nicely to what you were saying at the beginning, that you need to take control of your life and go into that expansion mode. And you touched on something just a minute ago, and it's worth reiterating that discomfort breeds growth. And if you're not the type of person who will actively seek out discomfort and put yourself in those situations, you're not going to go anywhere, because you're just going to stay in that safe little bubble for the rest of your life. And again, for a lot of people, that may be all that they want. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make it clear that not everyone is out to build, a transnational real estate portfolio, and not everyone has to be. But for those who do have bigger ambitions, for those who do dream bigger, it all starts here and here.
Yeah, so Alex, I agree with you 100%. I think to be comfortable is like the kiss of death. Mm-hmm. And here's and I'll add to what you're saying, because you don't have to be an expansion, but and you don't have to have big goals. You don't have to do much in your life. But if someone's listening to this and it's pretty much complaining about their life, they're sitting in a situation where like everything sucks, this and that, the other thing. This is where I have no sympathy for someone that complains and doesn't do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you are fine, there's people can find freedom in many different ways in life. You know what I mean? Like if you are happy and and you're content with where you are and you're not complaining, you have achieved success. That's success.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
so the truth is, it's like this. We all seek life fulfillment. That is a human need.
Yep.
It's a human need, right? And so if you're not consistently uncomfortable, you can't grow.
No.
If you cannot get uncomfortable, if you're not it's like you got to be uncomfortable in order to grow. Something needs to be out of your reach a little bit for you to grow. This is like a learning opportunity. But if you can't, here's the problem. If you're not growing consistently, you can't have life fulfillment. And if you can't have life fulfillment, you will never be happy.
Yep.
And if you can't be happy, then why are we here?
Why we? What's your?
And so if you can achieve that, you don't need monetary things to achieve it. The question is, where are you at in that process? Because you can be uncomfortable. Like Mother Teresa, she grew multi-million-dollar companies. She was executing, but she wore the same garments every single day. She didn't need those monetary things. She was just expanding the organization, and she was a leader, right? And so you have to get uncomfortable to grow, and that growth brings you that life fulfillment. And that is what it's all about. It's a life fulfillment, whatever it is for you or whoever's listening. It doesn't matter the thing or what the goal is. The question is, are you growing? Are you getting uncomfortable? Are you growing? And are you truly fulfilled with your life?
That's right.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, and a very very good high note.
Yeah, that is
to get to. Yeah,
Alfonso over here is preaching the gospel.
Absolutely. We've been going for a little while now, I think.
And yes,
a little while.
Well,
So,
how long?
we've been at it for about 35 minutes, 45 minutes.
Oh,
so we're falling right in that sweet
let's go
spot.
Joe Rogan with this. You know what I mean?
Joe Rogan.
I had
Man's got endurance.
Yeah, I had one question for you, and now let's circle back into real estate investing itself, and let's tap into the youth. If they wanted to start today, if you had to start all over again, zero portfolio, zero net worth, all over again, what steps would you take, and what steps can people take right now in order to start expanding in the real estate world?
First step is get educated. I'm not talking about a university education, I'm talking about a real estate and wealth education, right? Search out the knowledge. Even if you had money, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose the money, right? So invest in yourself. That is the number one investment that no one can take away from you. Invest
the only true investment.
Yeah, invest into what you put in here, and guard this asset with your life, right? Don't allow garbage to come in. Don't allow negativity to come in. Only allow good, positive things to enter your mind, because your mind is your asset, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. You'll get a truly massive return on investment in investing into your mind, right? So learn how to identify a deal, study the wealthy people, get advice from people that have the results that you're looking for. Don't look at your buddies. Don't get advice from your friends or your people that are at the same level as you, because they can only give you more of what you have. And so you got to reach out, look for mentors, look for people that are doing it. That's number one. Get educated. Here's number two. Whatever it is that you're missing in your life, look for people that can complement that. For example, if you have no money, no credit, no job, no income, it doesn't really matter. If you hold the knowledge, you already have a seat at the table. So look for people that you can leverage their credit, leverage someone else's income and nice job, and leverage someone else's money, leverage someone else's time. Whatever it is that you're missing in your life, look for people that can complement you, so you guys can create joint venture opportunities and move forward.
Nice.
Beautiful.
I have no other words.
Yeah.
To say.
And on the subject of someone looking to start out, what are some of the most common misconceptions that you've seen people have or make about real estate?
Yeah, so the idea that all real estate is good it's not all good, right? If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you read a lot of other real estate books, they talk about your personal house not being an asset. Rich Dad Poor Dad sold 20 million copies or 30 million copies, and somehow people still skip over that part, right? And what happens is that most people are going to go for what's the easiest. They're going to go for like, oh, I can buy my own house. I'm going to work so hard to buy my own house. What happens is you become a slave to that house. Yeah. Number one, you got taxes, you got this. You put all your money into your own house, and what happens is by the time you have money to invest into properties that can actually pay you, it's like you're 40 years old. And so the common misconception is that people go for the wrong type of real estate. And so you need to find real estate that's going to pay you. You see, your own personal house doesn't pay you. You're better off renting and in putting your money into real estate that pays you. And so the more assets that you create that pay you, at some point it becomes ridiculous. You have so much money that's coming in, then you buy your house.
And that's and this is on a personal note, like that's really, well, first encouraging because that's the path that I'm on right now. We were talking just before the show when I mentioned that I'm, a fledgling real estate investor. I know I've had a property that I went in on with, a couple like friends/partners.
Nice.
For about a year and a half. And yeah, like I'm renting right now. So I've bought something that will pay me before buying something for myself. And it's really easy to kind of fall into the comparison game, especially, at our age where we're a few years out of university. And so a lot of our peers, they're, let's say they're getting engaged or married, they're buying their starter homes and this and that. And yeah, it's tough. It's hard to look at all that if you don't have that and not feel like a pang of desire, like, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah. And it comes back to a kind of a riff on a very popular like Dave Ramsey saying that I made up, and it's pretty much do today what others won't to live tomorrow as others can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what happens is that consumer mindset takes over, right? The instant gratification lifestyle, it kills most people's ability to ever invest or grow or do something. And so what happens is people aren't willing to wait. They cannot wait. And so especially now with Instagram, everybody needs to show what they're doing. And so like, look at how nice my house is. Look at my car. Look at our $70,000 wedding. Look at all these things that really, none of those things are bringing you income. They're not providing you any benefit. And in fact, they're depreciating items for appreciating assets. And so the shift in understanding that is going to come from getting the education. But pay attention, right? Because you don't want to skip over the points that don't apply to you. It all applies to you, right? So, I'm not saying don't buy real estate, just buy good real estate that's going to pay you. And then once you build your life with assets that pay you, income producing assets, then buy all the shiny things. Because I'm not saying don't buy shiny things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just a time. There's a time and place to buy shiny things.
That's right. That's right.
Very much so. Very much so. Marco, did you have any other questions at the moment?
I've been overwhelmed with great answers.
It's been amazing. You have been incredibly generous with your time, Alfonso, and we thank you so very much. I think we'd like to leave the viewers and the listeners off with first, a way that they can get in touch with you for any reason and on any of your business ventures, your philanthropic endeavors. And one question that we're going to be asking every guest is to recommend, if you could recommend one, let's say, resource, whether it be like a book, YouTube video, seminar, within the context of real estate investing, or it could even be, self-development, business, money, life. What would it be if you could only choose one?
I would say start with Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
One of my favorite books.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible
by
to see
the-
how common a
By the
thread
way,
that book
if
is.
you're sitting and watching this and you say to yourself, "Yeah, I read that book," I would suggest go back and reread it.
Go back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a book should be read at least like once a year, because you don't read it and retain everything. It should be a constant source of information, validation, and motivation that you circle back to whenever you need.
And then I'll give you a second one. I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I'm currently reading from Robert Kiyosaki. I'm reading his Cash Flow Quadrant for the second time.
Beautiful.
Book.
Yeah.
Love that book.
And so how can people connect with you? So
You know what? I'm very Googleable. Go on Google.
Google.
Type in Alfonso Cuadra, and you'll see. You can connect and you can connect with me everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You can go to my website alfonsocuadra.com, or you can go to the quadrayouth.com. quadrayouthfoundation.com. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and just follow what we're doing. I would encourage everyone to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
The content there, I think you'll be happy. It's free. I'm providing it free. I'm not trying to sell you a course or anything. I just, I just go on there and I just give content, whatever it is that I can.
Yeah. So guys, there's going to be a link below where you guys can tap in with Alfonso. Please subscribe to his channel as well.
Yeah, and we'll include the links to your website and everything as well to make it easy, increase the Googleability. Well, Alfonso, thank you so much once again for your time. And if there's nothing else, I think we will end this wonderful conversation and let you enjoy the rest of this beautiful Saturday.
And thank you to everybody for tapping in, and reach out to us, reach out to Alfonso. Many more episodes to come in season 2. And then we definitely thank you, Alfonso, for being our first guest ever on the Daily Budget Podcast.
Yeah, we'll have a picture. We'll mount it on the wall. The first ever. So yeah, that's it, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.